Put women's entry to Shani temples.
Women in state of pregnancy, in menstrual cycles, it could seriously impact their life. So they said women should not go.
And books that were written thousands of years ago
No, that's what I'm saying.
now need to change.
A statement which can spark massive controversy. The Kerala minister said if needed, CPIM would send 1 lakh women to Sabarimala. Nobody can stop them.
People come here with variety of things, largely for influence of occult, or they feel they are possessed or something like this. Because such things are done, the energies are kept in a certain way in the sanctum, which is not very conducive for a woman. Can a woman not enter there at all? She can if she's…
In the Hindu community, women are not allowed into certain temples. The Shani Shingnapur, it took women 70 years to get into it. They got into Shani Shingnapur only in 2016. And Sabarimala, the fight is still on. Women in the age group of 10 to 50 cannot go to Sabarimala temple.
This is a culture where there are more goddess temples than god temples. There are more female deities worshipped in this culture than male deities. In south we call them Amman, Mariamman, this, in north there are various kinds of devis. So, the restriction in the temple is for a completely different reason. I spoke about Shani Shingnapur and I know the whole activist groups went against me because they're just waiting for an opportunity always. See, these are occult temples. You know what's occult? When you… We must understand this. People are thinking that these temples are places of prayer. These temples are not places of prayer. They're different types of energies. Shani means Saturn. These are temples created for the different planets in the solar system. The impact of different planets upon our own physiology, our psychological structure and the way many things happen is obvious to us in many different ways. There is a complex calculation about taking your time of birth, date of birth, and the latitude and longitude of birth. Taking these numbers, they make a complex calculation as to what are the planets which have maximum influence on you in your life. All these things are relevant to you to some extent. As I said, if you have an inner technology, you level out all these things, all these impacts. Saturn, which is a small faraway planet, takes 30 years to complete one revolution around the sun. Because it is a 30-year cycle, because there are what is called as 4 segments in a day and 4 segments in a year according to what happens on this planet. Once in 30 years, Saturn will have a certain influence upon you. So, people who come from India, what is it, Sada Sata, what's it called that in North India? Sadesat. Sadesat influence in the north. People who come from Tamil Nadu, Elar Shani, theriyundane, Elar Shani. So 7.5 years of influence of Saturn upon you will be there. At this time, you become more susceptible, it's not that you must have it. You become more susceptible to disease, depression, disasters, death. You're in the hands of D company. So, people know when their Sadesat or Elar Shani will come, at that time they will start doing certain things so that they can bridge over these pits that may arise in their life. So there is a temple for Shani Deva. So he's been, personified as a god. Shani temples are mainly used for occult and exorcism. Even today, there will be one or two priests who are trained here. When on Saturdays or on a significant Saturday, whatever those Saturdays are, on those days, he will come and sit on a seat which is full of sharp nails. He will sit on this and attend to people's questions and problems and whatever. He will sit on this for hours on end. People come here with variety of things, largely for influence of occult, or they feel they are possessed or something like this. Because such things are done, the energies are kept in a certain way in the sanctum, which is not very conducive for a woman. Can a woman not enter there at all? She can if she is trained particularly for that. But it would be much more difficult to train a woman on these things than training a man on these things, simply because of a few biological advantages man has in these areas of life. Occult practices, women in different states, particularly in states of pregnancy or menstrual states, it's not good for them, they're very vulnerable at that time. It can hugely impact their health and well-being. So they said you should not enter occult temples. Only on certain days when there are no such practices you enter, otherwise when practices are going on you do not enter because it's not good. Now talking about Sabarimala and other hill temples, these were mainly said because this is tiger country. Today maybe the poor tiger needs to be saved by you and me, that's a different matter. Otherwise, in southern India, in western Ghats, tigers roamed in thousands, okay? So climbing these hill temples was always a risk, and people have… even today they have these practices that they will carry some samrani, it's a kind of a thing that smokes. They always carry this when they go up because tigers will attack you otherwise. If they smell biology, they will go for you. If you take a woman with you, always a woman is more easily smelled down by a carnivorous animal than a man. So they said never take the woman. If you take the woman, for sure tigers will get you. So all hill temples, not only Sabarimala, all hill temples they put this restriction. But now the poor tiger is gone, it needs protection.
So now shouldn't
and the women
the practice change?
Now the women are better equipped, you know, in terms of modern amenities, they're better equipped, they're not what they were at that time. If it's only for that reason, definitely it must change, there's no question. At the same time, Sabarimala temple, I do not know the full detail, but from what I have heard from the temple authorities, they are saying that is because the deity is a brahmachari.
If the god is a brahmachari, so to speak,
See, this god idea is not our idea. This is a Western idea. We don't have a god.
the holy…
Deity.
The holy deity that
Yes.
is there is a brahmachari. It's a we worship that brahmachari because he's all powerful.
No,
Is he going…
that's not the point.
Is he going to get swayed
right
because
now,
a woman enters the temple?
No, right now in our ashram we have brahmacharis and mas, okay? There are lady monks and men monks. If the women demand, we want to go into the men's segment of the brahmachari segment, it's called the sangha, we want to go into the male sangha. No, because even we cannot enter into the female sangha. What is that? There are temples in Karnataka where men cannot enter. So these things were made for a different reason, this is not gender discrimination. A deity is seen as a live person, do you understand? A brahmachari is sitting in his own abode, so women don't go into his abode. If a young woman was sitting, we say men should not enter that room. Just the same thing. So the monks are there in the sangha, women cannot go. Is it gender discrimination? For his safety, not for theirs.
So
I am repeating this once again, if any temple is stopping women from entering their premises based on their biology, it has to go, no question. But if it is because of certain sensitivities, if it is that the deity is of a certain nature and it maintains a certain thing, they want to do that. Suppose, why nobody talks about these temples where men cannot enter? There are temples in Karnataka like this.
All right, Sadhguruji, I will ask you
I'm saying
another-
you're doing gender discrimination right now.
Oh,
Please
well,
fight
I'm-
for the men also, poor men.
poor men.
Intent. Or, now that you're talking about women's rights, why don't you fight for the men's rights? In our temple, the Bhairavi temple that we have, men are not allowed inside the sanctum. Why don't you stand up and fight for that? I will tell you why they're not allowed. That temple is only for the women. Men are not allowed. Why? Is it a discrimination? It is not about discrimination. It is a certain dimension of life. If you go by this crude sense of equality, you will harm the woman immensely. There are millions of temples open to everybody. Suddenly, why discrimination will come in one temple? What are you talking about? This is not a culture which discriminated against women. There are more female deities in this country than male deities. Every village you go, there is an Amman temple, there is a Devi temple. And you think it's discrimination? These are very rudimentary ideas picked up from the West. You have not seen this culture, you have not understood the profoundness with which is run. Unfortunately, because of 15-20 generations of poverty, we've kind of mixed it up and made… These are prescriptions, these are not discriminations. Please understand.
You are…
No, please listen to me.
Sir, you're still not addressing the point that who are you and I sitting here to make prescriptions for women and say that this is harmful for you, hence don't do it, or this is not harmful and you shouldn't do it. If women want to enter it, they want to enter it. Who are us to stop it?
It becomes ridiculous. It's like saying, don't I have the right to enter the ladies' toilet? What nonsense is this? Do you need a law? You just need sense that you don't go there.
Job, is your question answered? Like, or should
No,
I…
it's not answered. There's a difference between a man not allowed to enter a woman's toilet and you using the same
See,
analogy.
I'm not saying he's not allowed. A man who is a man will not enter. That's all I
Sir,
said.